y'all doing? I know it was a little bit rushed to get here, but I'm so glad that you're all here with us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you.
Hello,
right.
everyone.
Yes.
I know.
Hello.
It's a packed house today. What's up, y'all?
All right, so this is a discussion on films that matter. So I feel like we have to first have a working definition of what that means to all of you. So for each one of you, what do you think a film that matters means both personally and creatively? And we can start with you, Tressa.
For me personally, just as a female, I like to tell stories that will speak to a woman in particular, whether it is based on some type of pro-social content, whether it is mental health, whether it is breast cancer awareness. But I love those types of projects where we can inspire, we can motivate, even though people think that they're being entertained. They walk away like, wow.
It's not like a bait and switch, but you want to get them in with like the compelling story and then have that message kind of.
Absolutely, because people really want to be entertained, but while we're entertaining, I feel like those of us who have the opportunity to greenlight projects, we should be able to have some projects that we know will help the community.
Awesome. And going kind of from the notion of like idea to action too, I have a question for you. When you are developing a mission-driven film, where do you start to kind of get it off the ground? Like before pitching and funding begins, do you kind of start with almost the mission statement in mind, or do you start with the story? Like how does it all come together?
Well, I think for me, I start with the story. It's always about finding impactful stories. I tend to like stories from underrepresented communities, and also I like stories about like men who are trying to make something out of themselves, or like. And so for me, it's always trying to find a great script, story, or storyline, headlines, or IP that we can like go buy, purchase, invest in, and then we start from there, start building the team out from there.
Yeah, because we chatted a little bit before, and you were talking about how you kind of like keep your like ear on the ground of like stories that you think like could become developed into something. Do you have like a process for like how you even find those, or do you have a team that finds them for you? Like how does it work?
I mean I usually find them myself or my wife, and we stumble upon them. We have a story about 92 minutes about suicide prevention that we really are into right now that we're developing. But yeah, it's usually, I'm always online. I'm always doing a lot of research. I spend a lot of time doing research, being in touch with like the people and the crowds and seeing what the community is talking about, reading headlines or just different things like that. And that's usually how I kind of go in.
Awesome. And now cultural authenticity is powerful, but it can come with a lot of pressure. And I feel like a lot of people here who are filmmakers or storytellers kind of run into that friction of wanting to tell an important story, but one that is still like viable. And so, Naturi, I'm curious, how do you personally stay true to culturally specific stories while also building a broader audience appeal that can get industry backing to get made?
Yeah, I think first off, because I feel like I am the culture and I'm connected to the culture, I try to think about what I would like. Like what are my peers, even if it's a rom-com, I'm thinking, what are me and my girlfriends talking about right now? What's dating like? Or if it's a drama, I think about my own family drama and I pour into that. So I think culturally, and even being on a show like Power, which was so integrated into the culture, I think I try to pull from real life scenarios that I've actually experienced, but also you gotta sell the story, right? So some things, you have to ask questions to other execs, to people who've been doing it. Like Tressa is someone I consider like a mentor. And I ask, what are people looking for? What exactly is hot right now? And you just listen. If you listen, keep your ear to the street, that will help with the culture. But also, don't be afraid to try a different genre. I think for me, I'm hearing so many things that are working right now. And maybe 2 years ago, nobody wanted a romantic drama or a rom-com, and now with shows like Forever, and people are bringing back the Love Jones feeling. We want to see love again, and which is something I love. So I just try to tap into what excites me as a viewer, and then just see like, okay, let me speak to my people and keep it culturally grounded.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. She understands.
Yes, he gets it. So you've spoken about the importance of a story, but obviously this is still a business, and the business side matters. So Tressa, I'm curious, by the way, Tressa, I did not know your full bio up until I knew that you're gonna be on this panel, which was incredible.
It's impressive.
I don't even want to like
Girlfriend
paraphrase it, 'cause
does
it's
it
so
all.
impressive. But would the Spark Notes be teacher to author to movie studio entrepreneur? Is that a very Spark Notes version?
Yeah, most people don't know that I used to be a school teacher. And when I started the journey to writing books and then obviously becoming a producer, I said, okay, Lord, now it makes sense. I needed to know how to manage people and a lot of folks and to be able to have empathy for people before you start producing. Because as a producer, you wear many, many hats. And so most of us think of it as creative. But ultimately, it's a business and it's a people business. So you really do need to have a lot of those soft skills to be able to manage folks and make people want to come back and work with you again.
Do you think your experience prior to getting to movies, like, were those soft skills? Like, do you think that they helped you in your career now?
Oh, absolutely. Even right now, you know, we just came off of 2 projects. We just wrapped on a project in Atlanta, a project in Miami, and we're getting ready to shoot something else. So collectively, that's 300 people that I've been managing over the last 60 days. And I'm still living, right? But give God praise, okay? Not me, give it to him.
Amen.
Ooh, girl.
So I have this question for you, but also to Naturi, if you can chime in. I'm curious, what for you are the essential elements to help make an indie film scale, whether it's like budgeting or finding maybe innovative or different distribution strategies? Like, how do you approach it?
So I think for me, every year we decide what's our slate of films that we're going to put out at my company, Megamind Media. And so last year we produced 12 projects. So in order to produce 12 projects in a year for different networks and some just totally independently without distribution, everything is about strategy. So I would say the first tip is making sure you have the right team. And that it can't just, you can't do it alone if you're talking about scaling films. You have to have a team. And so at Megamind, we have a development team. I'm a part of that team. We have our creative team that once we get a network in partnership with us, then now that team will go on to develop the project. Because again, it's not just you. You're now with executives who say, like, that was a nice project, but we see it like this. And so you have to be able to work with the writers. And then you move on to your physical production team. Then you move on to your post team. Then you move on to your distribution team. So scaling the films requires you to have all of those teams, and you're conversating constantly from the beginning, not once you make the film.
Yeah, it's too late by
Yeah,
then.
it's too late.
Too late.
Having a plan, just like Tressa saying. But I feel like that applies in all aspects of life. So if you are a good planner, you, I think, will make a great filmmaker. And I think all those steps, having worked out with your team, everything that, I just echo everything she said, because it's always like a man with a plan or a woman with a plan can do anything.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of people are creative. So a lot of people, I work with creative, so my background is management. So I'm always working with the talent and the entertainer. So for me, a lot of times, they don't have a plan. And they don't know how to plan.
Right.
They just create and they go. So you have to be able to build teams, and that's why it's so important, because you have to be able to depend on people to do other parts, you know. And so like Tressa, all these different parts, like for me, like marketing is a big thing. Like what happens after the film? How do we get people interested in the film? And that's a whole entire team as well. So, you know, you gotta have different compartments, different departments about every different thing and every different part of the film.
So you kind of already spoke to this, and I've noticed that a lot of the other panelists who've spoken today at the filmmaking stage have said this, the importance of the team and the people that you work with. But for all of you, how do you go about like assembling that team and like one that aligns with you creatively and understands kind of the purpose of like the mission behind the project you're working on? How do you go about finding those people?
Fire everybody. Fire them all. Let the strongest survive. No, not just
Well, I can use Naturi, the relationship to like with Naturi. Right? We met because I was producing a series that was about mental health.
Yeah.
And so Naturi was one of the directors.
Yes.
Well, that wasn't a relationship that stopped there. We met on that set. She did a great job with directing the project. But once it aired, we kept in touch. She ended up executive producing another movie for me, which was a Christmas movie. And now we're still figuring out, we're waiting for our manager to figure out what we're gonna do next.
Put me in something. Come on, Tressa, I'm waiting for the
Right.
offer.
But it's that
It's
networking,
true.
once you meet people, and even like in this room,
Yeah.
Stay connected.
you know, network with everybody in here. Somebody in here might be an editor, somebody might be great at marketing, somebody might have a distribution connection, but then
Exactly.
you take all of your resources together, and that's how you start to build.
Yeah, your network is your net worth at the end of the day. I moved, how many people are from New York in here? Raise your hand.
Okay.
All right, see,
New Yorkers.
what I want to tell you guys, New York has a superpower, right? I'm not from New York, I'm from Atlanta, from East Atlanta. And I didn't notice, I never wanted to move to New York or anything, but when I moved here, I only knew 2 people. And what I learned is New York has a different drive and a different energy about
It's a different
themselves.
hustle,
New
y'all.
Yorkers, they have
Y'all
a
don't
different
play.
hustle. I met kids that were making $100,000 at 23 here. It's different coming from the South when kids are making $15,000 here. You know, it's a different mind frame, and people prepare better. But I will say, like, meeting people and getting to know people, like go to events, do coffee meetings, do all kind of little things, and along the way you'll pick up good people. I always say you only meet probably one good person every year, and that's lucky. And you're lucky if you meet 2, you know.
5 people in my life.
But over that time, that person may know another good person, and you guys start building out things. But it's all about communication, showing up, showing your true self, and showing how you want to win, and people will align with that along the way.
And just to add, for me, the one thing that as an actress, now director, I also look for people who are passionate, you know, because I genuinely love acting. I love the work. I would do it on any medium. I've been on stage, on Broadway, I've been in TV, I've been in film. You know, it's just, if you're passionate and someone that you meet matches your passion and your drive and your focus and work ethic, it really can make a good synergy. So aside from just people who may just be like, okay, I'm scaling and making money, some people are only looking at the metrics and the dollar signs, but they're not thinking about what the impact of the project is. So for me in particularly, I also do network with people that I feel just synergy-wise and just have the same desire and passion to make an impact in the industry. So that kind of helps as well.
So when you're in the process of finding people that you want to do something impactful with, I think one thing that comes up often is wanting to maintain creative control over your work, over the thing you're passionate about and you're doing. 2, I'm curious, are there any either funding strategies or partnership models that you found allow you to maintain ownership of your vision while still achieving some reach with the project?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all learn we got to copyright things, but also, you know, make sure you put in, like, start learning how to do agreements. I know it's a lot of AI stuff out here, a lot of different things. Start learning how to do partnership agreements and how to do, like, if you're, you know, a think tank and you're coming up with an idea and it's your idea first, don't be scared to give people percentages because you need teammates. A lot of people want to hoard everything for themselves, but we can't make it alone. We need teammates, we need community, but be very specific about what you're willing to give up to get to the next level. But put everybody in contract. I put my sister in contract.
Yes,
I
okay.
put my mama in
Amen.
contract. You know,
Amen.
and it's
You
not
don't play.
And it's not because it's something bad about it. It's one, we have to teach each other, because even if they go and do another project without you, and they go and be like, oh, my son didn't give me a contract, and they go do this to somebody else, and that person takes their whole idea just because you didn't even get to teach them the correct way. So even if you're giving somebody 1%, teach them, all right, this is how it goes. Even if you guys zero line it out and say, this is 0, like if you're giving somebody a discount, still give them the invoice so they know how much your services cost. You gotta prepare people. It's our job to help our friends and help our community prepare for situations, not just with you, but outside of you as well.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
That's a real one. I'm not in contract with him. So.
Oh, we got a good contract.
Yes.
You know.
This ring right here is my contract. Okay.
And you know what I want to say, the reason why that is so good is because I have a stable of writers, and these writers, they love up on each other all year long, and as soon as a project gets greenlit, I look and I'm like, wait, they don't speak anymore? Ooh. They don't talk?
Oh, yes.
Because they did not get the agreement together. They did not, you have to spend money and hire an attorney. I don't care how much you think you know about legal, that is the best dollar you will ever spend is making sure you have a good attorney.
Exactly.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Or a good manager like Lewis.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
We've been talking just a lot about, I think you've actually been demystifying a lot of some of this behind the scenes stuff that people don't think about, but there's still a lot of mythology in indie film. And Tressa, I'm curious, just because especially the way in which you got into the position you're in, I'm curious if there's any common misconceptions about indie filmmaking that you've come across, and in your reality, what is like the actual experience?
Yes, oh my goodness. So I'll just give a few. When I started, I had this idea that my very first script was going to sell for like $300,000 or $400,000. How many people, wave your hand if you thought you was gonna get that kind of money? Yeah, it's not happening.
Oh.
But I didn't understand it. It was just this idea that I owned all of this IP from my books, and I was like, I've got to be able to get my worth. And so going into business, your worth is something different at different levels of your career and on different platforms. If you sell a script to one network over here and you sell it to somebody over here, those numbers are going to be totally different. And so you do have to do the research so that you don't go in and you're upset or feeling like you're not getting your worth. You have to learn the business. And so I didn't. I came in strictly as a creative. And so I quickly learned the business, but that was a myth for me. I think another thing coming in was that as soon as I made a movie, that it was just gonna magically sell. I was like, everybody's gonna want it. Netflix, Hulu, everybody. And that's not true. So I think that people have to do the research so that you'll know what platforms are looking for what. You know, everybody has mandates every year. You need to know what those mandates are so that you don't think that just because you want to be on a network that they're going to take your project. So I think those are the two biggest ones for me.
Would you all agree, like, do you think it's a hard and fast rule that I'm sure a lot of people in here are creatives, writers, directors, DPs, things like that. Do you think it's essential for everyone down the line to familiarize themselves with like the legality and things like that? Like, is that a
Absolutely,
necessity?
absolutely. And then as you grow in your career, you know, after your first film, you should have worked in at least 5 different departments on your set. Right? And so for me now, I'm normally in the seat of making sure I'm in charge of casting and making sure I hire all of my key people. After that, there are other people that are leading. The one department that I stay in is legal. To the point where my attorneys are like, don't say anything. Don't respond. You are not an attorney.
Oh, that's so
I'm like,
funny.
and that's just because that is the part of the business that affects everything. So it's the part of the business that I have to know if I'm going to continue to have slate deals.
Right.
So you have to just remember, don't get too big where you think, oh, I'm the producer and I shouldn't do anything else but produce. I sweep floors. I help in crafty.
Producers do it all.
Yeah.
I'm at the door giving hugs in the morning just like I was back in the classroom.
Yes, she is.
Right, so I wear many, many hats, and I think that sometimes as filmmakers, once we get a little bit of success, we start feeling ourselves a little too much.
Gotcha.
I think, I was gonna say, I think you have to do every job. I think you have to do every job. I always say you have to be the janitor. You have to work your way up through everything. And I kind of had to work mine in reverse because I came into TV and film after being a sports executive and after being a music executive. So I wanted to be a PA. I was like, let me PA on the set, y'all. Let me come in. All my friends are executives, and they were like, boy, no. We not hiring you. I was like, why? I need some money. Like, I need some money, I need a job, and I don't know this industry. and they would not let me. And so we actually had to start our own company ourselves for me to even get the experience I needed to do other jobs.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
how Take Two Entertainment, me and my husband, started our own production company, really out of frustration.
Right.
That people wouldn't give us a chance, or, you know, like you said, they think, you know, they see you on a certain pedestal, even me as an actor. It's like, oh, directing is gonna be too much for you, too difficult, you know, just stay in your lane. I got that a lot, and it's like, oh, I can run down many lanes, boo-boo, okay? So I think that it's important to not be afraid, which we did, step out on faith. We were literally like at the end of the year, like, we're just gonna make our own movie, which is a movie that just premiered at ABFF in Miami and did really well. It's called 333, thank you. And it was a story that was on my heart about abortion, women's rights. 333 is a passionate story, Burgundy Baker, Vanessa Bell Calloway. I got my friends and just called them up, was like, look, I ain't got no money. It's a short film. But don't be afraid to call people. Don't be afraid to call your friends, because you'd be surprised how people will show up for you. When we started our own thing, it was really a moment to say, okay, can we do this on our own? And we're still learning, but every step of the way, we took baby steps and a risk. And I think that's why we're able to be where we are now.
Awesome.
And doing it together.
And doing it together.
Absolutely.
It's my husband.
Naturi, I actually want to follow up because you're such a multi-hyphenate. Your work speaks for itself. Actress, director, musician, producer. You've worn so many creative hats and literal hats. And I'm curious, is there ever a time where you've had to protect a creative decision in any of those areas, either in the writing room or on the set? And what did you learn from it if you did?
Oh yeah, you had to protect yourself on your first set.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm a very strong personality. Any Tauruses in the house? Yes, that's why.
Them are
May
real
20th.
bulls,
Yeah.
real bulls. And I got on red. Don't attack today. Please.
That's how I come in. I just be like, no, because a lot of people, again, they underestimate what you know because they think you've only been. The truth is, like you said, I have been on the Broadway stage for 3 years in Hairspray. I've been in a girl group, 3LW, been kicked out of girl group, had a record deal, 15. I have been through the highs and lows. So the truth is, that's why I think I'm so passionate about what I do and maintaining the vision. So for example, to your question, when I was shooting my first short film, 333, and that was like a big deal, directing in one weekend, I had to finish this movie. I only had Vanessa for one day. She was on Broadway at the time. And I feel like as a woman and as a Black woman, I was always being questioned. Like I mean, if it wasn't for the producer or DP, they were like, you sure you need that shot? It's not necessary. We'll do it in post. Or, you know, you're arguing with different people. And I'm just keeping it real with you guys. I think a lot of times it's because people don't think that your vision is sufficient. And so I do have to fight for my vision. And creatively, if it's a story, I wrote 333. I also wrote my next short film, Look Out for the Last Worker, which is about AI and how we're pushing humans out of the workforce. I write and then come to my husband like, can we do this? He will produce, and then I directed it. But people, for some reason, want to question what my story is. And I'm like, so what you think the character was thinking? Because I know. And I'm not saying that you can't take notes. You have to be malleable and flexible. But there are a lot of times I feel like as a young woman, and because I look young and I'm small, sometimes I feel like I might have the Napoleon syndrome because I'd be like, yeah, I'm 6 feet. But I'm only 5 feet, right? So I do have to fight sometimes for a vision and let people know I've done the work. I'm not fighting just to be out here, you know, barking. I'm doing it because I've done the work and I know what the creative is. So in order to maintain that, there are times when I do have to buck up and get a little rowdy.
Yeah, that's right.
You just have to, especially being a woman in this industry. People don't always get it.
Gotcha. So you guys just talked about the importance of fighting for your vision, the importance of telling mission-driven stories. But then there's always the question of like, how do you measure success? Because, you know, some people just always go to Deadline, Variety, see what the opening box office was. That's your only measure of whether or not a project was successful. But for you, for all of you, how do you each personally define success in an indie film? Is that its impact? Is it its legacy, its reach? How do you all define it?
That's a good one, Tressa.
I think starting for me, I think about the number of people that I employ every time I shoot a movie. That's
Ooh, that's
important because
Yeah.
there are not a lot of jobs for creatives now. So that would be number one. I think also number two, when folks come to my set and they are working, I'm not looking at them as just somebody who's doing the work for a 3-week shoot. It's like, oh wow, can they rejoin my team again? Like we're building something big. Are you networking with these people so that when you leave me, you can go and get a job with someone else? So it's more using it as a teaching tool. So when success for me is with we can end, wrap on time, okay?
Yes.
No reshoots, we're not
No
coming back.
overages, no.
Okay.
Yes.
That is success. But when the people leave and I know that I've done what I was supposed to do, because there's so many producers, there's so many production companies. So if I'm gonna use my gift like I'm supposed to, it's more than box office. Now, do I want a good box office check?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Sure.
That would be great. But that is not gonna define the success for me. And so when I look at my whole catalog, sometimes people will say, you have 42 projects now, what's your favorite? I can't really tell you a favorite because I think about the people who helped me build each of these projects. So success for me is my team and seeing them win.
That's good.
And so do you agree, or do you have other sort of things that you use?
I think, I definitely agree with her. I think success for me is by impact of people as well. You know, we have a project out right now called Color Book, which premiered at Tribeca last year. And we won over 20-something awards, you know, at film festivals and things. And it's a great story. And people are like, oh, is it going to sell? Where can we watch it? And I'm like, you know, I don't know those things, right? But I know that we were able to tell stories about people that really don't get stories told about.
Exactly.
And I know,
about
like,
Black fatherhood and a child with Down syndrome. So speaking to that. Yeah, go ahead.
and so, you know, that's success to me, being able to impact different communities, being able to impact friends and people who need jobs, people who need internships, people who need to shadow on a project, people who just need opportunity. Because my whole thing is about giving people opportunity, giving people a chance just to see more than themselves. Our whole entire company is basically taking people and giving them a second chance. That's why it's called Take Two. And giving them, you know, opportunities to pivot. Because like Tressa was a teacher, at one point I was a teacher. You know, at one point I worked for the Atlanta Falcons, but at this point I worked at Comcast. You know, it's like different things, but being able to always continue and being able to help people along the way, I think that's the biggest thing of legacy for me.
And I'll just quickly add, sorry. Yeah, clap it up. So that was good. No, that's so good because Take Two, like he said, giving people second chances, but also what's your next phase? What's your version of Take Two? And I want everybody here to think about that. You know, right now you may be in an area that you feel like bogged down or limited by, but your Take Two just has to, you really just have to go for it. So I just encourage you guys to do that. And also legacy and also success can also mean ownership. You know, for me, being a part of something where you can actually make an impact, decide what you want to do with a film, be a part of something that really matters, and possibly having ownership. Now, it may not always work out that way where you will have ownership, but I think if you strategically go through your career thinking, okay, it's just like, you know, Ray Charles, you know, owning his own masters, and artists of the different times thought, okay, how can I be more than just work for hire? How can I be a part of this and integrate it into this project so that I'm not left behind? So ownership will also potentially leave you money for your legacy.
Awesome. So you just spoke about career strategy, and I'm sure a lot of people here are interested in your insights in that. But I'm curious, so when I'm not making YouTube videos for B&H's YouTube channel, I'm an indie filmmaker myself, and I'm sure a lot of people here are as well. And I think the big dream is to just like have something that gets to the film festivals, gets released, and is like a breakout hit. But two, I'm curious, what is your approach though to building a sustainable, like maintainable career in indie film as opposed to just chasing that one hit?
I think it's being a sustainable person, really. I think it's having the attributes that it takes to sustain and build a career. I think more than anything, you don't chase. I always set my life up to not chase careers or not chase the money or the job. It was about being the best person you can be. Because I feel like if you be the best person and you're ready for what all God gives you, all the gifts, your hands will be open when he gives it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know.
Come on now.
Yes.
And so it's not really about, you know, for me, I think if you sustain that and you create that, if you close your eyes and you say, all right, when I'm 70 years old, 80 years old, you know, I'm successful and this is what I made, and you see that person, you build that person. And I think the job and the energy and everything else comes to that person. And so be that good person, show up on time, making sure that you do impactful things, not only for you, but impactful things for the world, impactful projects, and impact the people that are around you. The PAs, give them opportunities to move up. Writers, give them opportunities to submit and to pitch. You know, give your producers opportunities to pitch projects. You know, first-time director, give them an opportunity. So I think it's just really about being a good person.
Yeah.
So good.
So simple, but so profound, yeah.
So beautiful.
Awesome. So another thing that's come up in a lot of these panels that have been on this stage is just the changes of the industry. I mean, we had a panel on AI, we've had panels on virtual production, and they're all great and they're interesting, but for people trying to navigate it, it can be a little tricky. And so Tressa, I'm curious, for you, in terms of like platforms for releasing content, first, when you were getting mic'd up, you mentioned how many movies you make. What was that number? How many movies a year you have like in production that you're making?
Yeah, so last year we produced 12, and this year we'll produce 12 to 14.
12 to 14.
If I don't give myself a vacation.
I know. You deserve it, girl.
Well, you're crushing it so far. But I'm curious, because I know you have your Tubi slate and everything, but for you, how are trends like streaming or global distribution, or like if it said virtual production, are they influencing how you greenlight projects and how you scale them? Like, are they changing what's even possible for you?
Absolutely, because many platforms have changed how they do business, how many projects they'll release. And so everything, you know, has, I would say, taken a dip, right? And so because of that, you have to reconfigure how you do business. And so typically we greenlight about 4 filmmakers a year just with Megamind. We'll take independent filmmakers who submit us projects. And last year those budgets ranged around $300,000 to $400,000. This year they're now $250,000. So, you know, you have to change when the industry changes. But because we have direct distribution with a lot of platforms, we already know, okay, they make a good film, and they have guidance, they have parameters as well. So by the time the films are done, we know, oh, we can send it here, or we can send it here, or we can send it here. The other side of the business is that we'll finance bigger projects. Let's say if Naturi has a project and we decide we're gonna do a project together, to help us find the financing, we'll come together and we'll go out and we'll produce that movie, but it's on a bigger platform, and then we can decide, okay, is this a theatrical release? Is, you know, where do we take that? And then we have the projects that we do with networks, and these are the slate deals where you know you can consistently do these projects. Those projects already have a home. So I would just say in this market now, you have to have multiple ways of doing things. You cannot just say, I'm only gonna do this, because that doesn't work anymore. You have to be able to pivot based on what's happening.
Yeah, it's so true. As with AI, and even as an actor, I've seen the impact, you know, just of how many projects are being made or not being made. You know, like Tressa said, things have taken a dip. The industry has contracted, and I hear that word a lot. So, you know, it's like, how do you stand out when they're only taking 2 or 3 projects when normally a network might have made 20? So really, the hardest part is how do you stand out and make something that is going to break through when they only are taking 3 or 4 projects. And also with AI and with so many different things, we have to be so conscious of how, let's continue to employ real people, y'all. Like, let's continue to give people opportunities that are talented, because one day we're going to look up and not have anything human made, and then we'll really be lost, I think, as a people. So I just encourage everybody to still, utilize technology and the greatness that it provides, but remember, humanity comes first. So I think that will help the industry rebuild and repair.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Well, unfortunately, we are starting to run out of time, but before you left, I was curious to get your input on this, because once again, I'm sure a lot of people here are pursuing their own filmmaking journeys. And so just for each of you, what is one piece of advice you would give in this industry, Naturi, that you just described, for people who want to bring their stuff to fruition, but still stay true to their creative vision and their mission-driven vision?
My tip is going to be related to the finances. How many people in here have this desire to produce a movie that is $1 million and over? Okay.
It's a decent show.
So that's what the average filmmaker typically wants to do. I would say figure out a way to make that same movie, but make it for half the money. That would be my advice to you in the current climate.
That's real.
And I know it hurts, but that is the business sense. That's not the creative side of me talking. It is the business side of me talking. And if you can get a network or investor to do it at the budget that you're thinking, that's fine. But find a way. You can take that same project and say, how can I do it? Because even when you hear about Naturi doing her short film, she called on favors. She probably had 5 or 6 different jobs on the set.
Yeah.
She gave 2 a lot of jobs, right? And so there is a way to do it. We typically, as creatives, we don't want to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
That's good.
That's great. And it might force you to find even creative solutions that you might not have found if you didn't put that constraint on yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that was a dream killer move, but but it's so true. You'll
You gotta
thank
rip
me
the
later.
Band-Aid off.
Keep it real.
I would say be a great executor. There's a lot of people who have a lot of ideas, but a lot of ideas don't get finished. Right?
That's good.
Yeah.
Make sure, more than anything, make sure you're a person that executes. Not just in movies, but in your daily life.
Yes.
Because that represents what you'll do. What you do one way is how you do everything else. And so make sure you execute, because especially being a black man, a lot of times my counterparts, my peers don't execute. And that's when you see the separation of where people go. And so if you can do that, you're already 10 times better than most people in the world.
I love that.
That's really
So
good.
So good.
I think my tip or advice, with the climate right now would just go do it. Just make your project. I think sometimes, like Tressa said, you think you can only do it for this dream number, but I thought my short was gonna be a totally different thing, but you realize like, oh, I actually can make this for much less. But my advice would be, don't be afraid to try, and don't be afraid to ask for help. That would be like a big thing, because I think ego and sometimes gets in the way, like I can do it all by myself, I got this, I got the money, I'm gonna do this. Don't be afraid to call up somebody and ask for help, like, hey, you got something over here, or anybody you know that might be able to do my film? Actors, other producers, because we, like Tu said, hoard, we want it for ourselves, sometimes it makes us afraid to ask for help. And I just wanna encourage you guys that the most successful you can be sometimes is with an amazing team. And don't be afraid to reach out to those tentacles that you have in your life that you already know, and you don't have to go anywhere to get it. So just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
And give help. Not just ask for help, give help to others.
Yes, that too.
Make sure you guys, your hands are open so you can receive God's blessings on the other side. So make sure y'all give help as much as y'all ask for help.
Yeah, that's true. And just be a taker. So true.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much for taking the time. Give it up for our panel.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
It's a great audience. Thank y'all so much.
I love you guys.